because I would find it near enough impossible, to hold down a full-time job or something like that. The reason I did it in the first place was the embroidery business, which is AG Embroidery, which I've done for a while, working from home, was just because it fit in with George. And obviously his condition is in appointments, or if he's not well, so that's the reason I did that. But yeah, there's all sorts of difficulties. George has Cruzon Syndrome.
Which is?
It's a cranial facial syndrome where the bones in the skull and the face fuse quicker than normal.
So we are rolling, by the way.
All
so I think it's always a great start just to say welcome. First
Thank
of all.
you. Thanks for having me here.
I know you're more than welcome. I can't wait, to share the story. But it's probably worthwhile just introducing who you are.
My name's Carleen Leyland. I've got 2 children, Alexandra George and George, and really it's about that. And obviously my business, 2 businesses that. One I've had for quite a while and one that's just started. It's like 2 months, isn't it, into it? So
yeah, I think this is what the podcast is all about. Is finding gems, and there's loads and loads of talent locally. If you look,
yeah,
it's there in front of you, and people are giving it a go for whatever reason they are, and so I'm really, really happy that you're here. And also the thing is that it isn't easy running a small business, is it? That's been one of the things that's been coming through all of the different podcasts we've done. Doesn't matter if it's sport or anything else. There's a lot to it, especially when you're on your own doing it.
Oh yeah. The reason I did it in the first place was the embroidery business, which is AG Embroidery, which I've done for a while, working from home, was just because it fit in with George. And obviously his condition is in appointments, or if he's not well, so that's the reason I did that. But yeah, there's all sorts of difficulties that crop up, and you think, should I, go and, work for somebody else, But in the end, I've always felt like it's better to stick by it, and obviously he has to come first as well within it all. So
yeah, of course. And so, but that's one of the reasons why some people start their own firm. Is because for family reasons.
Yeah.
You might be a carer for somebody older or somebody younger.
Well, yeah, obviously I'm a carer for George, so doing that initially was ideal, so I could have the holidays and everything else, because I would find it near enough impossible, to hold down a full-time job or something like that, so that's initially why I started doing it.
How did you get into embroidery? So for anybody who's listening, and I'm particularly interested actually, because I make T-shirts for the.
Well, this is one of them.
I don't make them; I go and get them done. But the point is that we use them for my sports business as well. So, what was that business then?
I used to have a rugby shop. I opened a rugby shop in Lee. It was on Railway Road. It's called Scrum Down Under. I'm very passionate about rugby. My local rugby team that all the family go. We got season tickets at Lee Leopards, but it wasn't really them jerseys. It was like Australian jerseys, training wear and stuff like that. I absolutely loved it. And then I had George, and we found out quite quickly that he had a condition, and it was quite serious. So it was a decision that became that we would sell the business. But obviously with that, I just started to do embroidery as part of the rugby shop, to embroider the training wear with local rugby teams, like your Lee Miners, Lee Easts, Lee Rugby Union was a big one as well. So I was already doing that. So that's where the embroidery, how I knew how to do it in the first place. So when we sold the business, I worked partially at a gym for a while, but again, it just wouldn't work out with George and him being in hospital, because he was a lot when he was younger. And then it's about 13 years ago that I started AG Embroidery.
So that's Alexandra and then George, isn't it?
Yeah. So it came from the rugby basis, really, that I knew how to do it. So
So George is, how old is George? 13, 14?
16
He's
now.
16, is
Yeah,
he?
he just
Is he
had his
really?
prom. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, the prom was, I saw photographs of the prom.
Yeah, he was in a Lamborghini. It was
Yeah.
mad. It was crazy.
Yeah. It might, yeah. So let's tell you what, let's just start there then. So a lot of the high schools now, they have proms, don't they?
Yeah.
And some have what, they turn up in limousines and everything else. Now you do have this pedigree of leave, rugby. That's you can cut you open, can't you, from the
Absolutely.
stories? Yeah.
We live and breathe it. Sometimes too much, really.
Yeah. And well, no, he's never too much, is there?
No, I don't think there is.
You can't get enough of that, can you?
No, can't.
No. And but what a successful rugby team. But I think the point is, so look, the schools have the proms, don't they? And I think, do you want to tell a story about what happened with George?
With the Lamborghini, luckily, I know the owner of Lee Rugby, which is Derek.
Bring your mic towards you a little bit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Derek and Laura. And we were just thinking about getting a limo, and I was all getting in the family and stuff. And then I just thought, I'll just ask Derek if there's any chance that he could take him, because it was literally from my house and to the Lee Sports Village, which is about a mile. Anyway, he said absolutely 100%. So there was loads of people at our house. We had a little party for him before he went. And then the yellow Lamborghini came, and it was just brilliant. Like, when we arrived at the school, everybody was cheering. And his teacher came up to me and went, "That's the best thing I've ever seen in my life." And not just for him, but for the other kids. I mean, he loved it, but the other kids were having the picture took with it. And that's what I like about, the rugby aspect and Lee. It's got its faults, but as a community, sometimes it's like you can't beat it, really.
Yeah.
For things like that.
Well, sport brings communities together one way or the other.
In our town, really, it's probably one of the only things we've got left. That we all meet up, to go to the rugby, families and friends, once a week. So, it brings us all together, really.
Yeah. So what was George's face like when he got into it?
Well, he's obviously he's got complex needs, because at first you don't know whether he's gonna like it, but he was looking through the window like this, and then he likes like rides and stuff. So when he realised it was about him, then he loved it, So, and then we met him at the other side, and when he got out, it was all smiles, and we had loads of pictures took with him. It was brilliant.
So, what's the condition that George has?
George has Cruzon Syndrome.
Which is?
It's a craniofacial syndrome where the bones in the skull and the face fuse quicker than normal.
Is that from when they're born?
It can be before they're born, but luckily for George, it wasn't, because I think there's 4 different kind of craniofacial syndromes, 5 for, and there's Cruzon's. I can't remember the other one, and there's craniofacial itself. 5 for syndrome. I think it was Prince who had a son who actually died before he was born, because it fused that much that it caused brain damage. So when George was born, he didn't actually have the complex needs, but he's also got hydrocephalus, which is fluid on the brain. And that's where he's obviously the complications came with it, because with Cruzon syndrome, most of the time, they can live quite a normal sort of life sort of thing, without any learning difficulties. So the Cruzon syndrome is obviously, the hydrocephalus is something that's caused by Cruzons, and not everybody gets it, but obviously he did have fluid on the brain and had complications through that. So that's why he's got complex needs.
Is it a genetic condition, do you know, or is it common? Is it uncommon?
No, it's not common at all. It's, we're the lucky ones. No, it's if you've got it in your family, you've got a 50% chance, but we haven't, and I think it's 1 in 65,000 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very rare that we have done. With the time of being 16, I think I probably bumped into a handful of people all around the world that we've ever been that have got the same condition as George, or the same family group that he's got.
The condition itself, very layman's terms, by the way, for me, is that I think George experienced the growth. Obviously, as a human, he's going to grow, and his brain would have grown, but the cranium doesn't grow, it doesn't expand with the brain. Is that correct?
No, and that's why he's had to have like major surgery.
Yeah.
He's had over 30 operations, but some have been minor. But he's had 3 like major surgeries to rebuild his skull so the brain can grow you know, and then his face, because of his airways, it causes issues with breathing, certain things like that. So it's he had to have a frame on his face for like 4 months when he was 8, you know, just to keep it in place. So then, obviously, when they took it out, he can breathe. And luckily, breathing wise, he's been absolutely brilliant since.
Yeah, and that must have been challenging to try and understand the condition that George had, because obviously with it being so rare, how are we to know what to do, I guess?
Yeah, and we didn't know this when he was born. So it was at first he had quite a traumatic childbirth. There's never anything less, I don't think. But and then I thought maybe he had protruding eyes and his head shape, and was just down to that. But obviously, as time comes, said there's no way it can be. And he kept being poorly. You know, we had trouble with him in breathing. So he was, from being like born a couple of weeks to 4 months, he was quite severely poorly. You know, and in that time, there was like, because nobody knew at the local hospital, no disrespect, because it was so rare, what they was doing. That was probably really the most stressful, because they're not knowing, you know. And then when you get to an hospital, even though it's challenging and it's upsetting, to finally hear that somebody knows what is wrong and they've got solutions to fix it. In some ways, it was, as much as you knew it was going to be a rocky road, was a bit of a relief, really, you know, than just not knowing, sort of thing.
Yeah. So how long was that down the road when he was actually diagnosed in the end?
4 months old. He was put on a life support machine and transferred from Wigan to Pendlebury Hospital, the old hospital before it was knocked down.
Right.
They were brilliant. Within a day, they told us he's got Cruzon Syndrome. We're going to do, you know, X, Y, and Z. You know, it was, and that was better than before when we didn't know, you know, the worry of not knowing, even though obviously it's challenging as well.
So that syndrome in itself creates other physical issues, does it?
Oh, it can do,
Is that because of the oxygenation and?
Yeah, it can do, yeah. I mean, you can have some people that, you know, some children that suffer a lot, you know, brain damage from being very small, or you can have the majority that don't suffer at all, but they have other factors with sleeping patterns and other things, you know. So it just depends, really.
Yeah, and does it affect communication?
Yeah, George he's not non-verbal. If he wants something, then he'll tell us, you know, but you wouldn't be able to have a conversation with him. He understands, you know, lots of other things, and he knows where he's going, family members, but, you know, he can't have he can't have a conversation to communicate,
right,
as such, yeah.
And so there's obviously various severities of the condition. I suppose depending upon what's happened with the brain and the way in which surgery works and all those things. That must have been, you know what, you're so super protective of your child.
Yeah.
Over that period of time, up until today, was it having to have a regular course of surgery and corrective actions in order to be able to get him to here today? Has that basically been the poor lad's life then? Yeah,
really. I mean, he's so brave. He's so happy. You know, and we'll get to like his favourite people. But yeah, from him being born, there's been like, you know, he's going to have major surgery when he was 1. That was on his brain. Basically, they just break the bones in his skull and reform them. And then when he was 8, and because of the complications with his breathing, so he was on a CPAP machine from being 6-month-old up to being 8-year-old, and then he had to have a frame on his face. And again, they sort of break they break the bones and move it and set it in place through a frame, and then that's on for 4 months. And he may need surgery on his jaw, because obviously everything's still growing, isn't it? So his jaw, and I can tell that it's grown out. So, I mean, it's very difficult to get appointments these days, but I'm fighting to get him in to obviously have a look at his jaw, you know, because that teeth and everything can cause problems.
Yeah, well, it can constrict airway and all sorts.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's so, like we always say, because he must be in some discomfort and pain every day, but he's so happy, you know, so, you know, that's the main thing.
That's the impression that I've got from the anecdotal stories I've heard
Yeah.
about him, that he actually is a jolly lad. You know, he sort of has to. But given the cards he's dealt with, he's like, right, I've just got to get on.
Yeah, I mean, like he knows when we've been in, because obviously he's been put to sleep lots of times for scans and everything, and you know he knows where he's going. And I always think so brave, because I mean I think I've only been put to sleep once when I was like 4, and I've made a big deal of that.
Yeah, not doing it again.
Yeah, so yeah, he knows. You know, he's really brave with his appointments and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and
Considering he's non-verbal. You know, he understands, you know, like, hold on to me and stuff, and then everything's going to be all right. And he does understand, you know, so I'm proud of him, like, and we all are, really. So.
Well, that's what is, I'm going to use the word spectacular and not advisedly either, about the support that he had for his prom.
Yeah, absolutely.
From the rugby team, because those things mean the world.
Yeah, it's like a day that we'll never forget, really. We had friends and family round to take pictures, and then it turned up, and everybody was like, "Oh my God," you know, outside the house. And then we got there. It's just, and it's to have. He's done it for other people as well, because he always would when he could. You know, obviously there's times he can't, but if he could, he would, and it was extra special. He had the driver that drove us there said to Derek, like, it was so special to go and see them kids, like on the website. You know, they had him coming up on the school's website. They had a page of George in the Lamborghini and all the other kids having pictures that I'd taken. So it was special, yeah.
How was it with school? With George going to school, was it okay? Or did he have to go to different types of school depending upon where he was with his treatment?
No, he went to mainstream at first. He was only lasted about a year when they realised it wasn't right. It's just not right. You know, he wasn't getting the support that he needed. It wasn't the school's fault, it just wasn't working out. So we ended up taking him to a special needs school in Atherton, Rowing-Tree, that were brilliant with him. And then he went to Oakfield. Sorry, and they've been really flexible with his appointments. They know that he's got certain, because it obviously affects his hearing, his sight, everything. So he has appointments all along the board, and they're very supportive as well. Yeah, they love George as well as a character. So
yeah, how does that work then with his sight and hearing? Does that improve, or just casting your mind back through the journey? Did it improve, and then did it decline again? And whereas I suppose it's one of those things you can't tell what's going to happen, especially when you have surgery. I'm guessing is that it can affect the way in which the healing happens. It can affect other things.
Yeah, the hydrocephalus has got a lot, really, to do with the vision, the pressure, I believe, with the eyes, and he's got glue here in both his ears, and that's like intermittent. So he can definitely hear me, or he's pretending he can't sometimes. But it just depends, really. But it is a concern. But I think it's more the hydrocephalus that's caused his vision complications. And the hearing is more his gluey, which it's all connected. Because it's ear, nose, and throat, isn't it? So it's all connected through that, really.
So casting your mind back, you then said, listen, we need to make a living.
Yeah.
We're going to have to try and you got a load of printers and scanners and said, right, we'll get him in a house, or what did you do?
No, it's, when I had Scrum Down Under, I had a big, like, 6-header embroidery machine. Toshiba it was, make. And it was to do the rugby teams. So obviously we sold it, and we sold the embroidery team, and I worked in the gym for a little bit, and it wasn't working out. So I thought, well, what can I do? Obviously I didn't want to do nothing, but I needed to care for my son as well. I needed something that was ideally at home if I could. So I looked online, and there was a local firm called Bambas that were leasing embroidery machines. Brother with embroidery machines, and I thought, well, you know what, that's something I could do from home. I have got contacts in the rugby league world, and it was just social media was it started, but it wasn't massive then. It was just Facebook, I think, at the moment. So I thought, do you know what, I'm going to try it, and I got a few little contacts with schools and stuff, and it wasn't like busy straight away, but no small businesses, isn't it? So, and really, it was just so I could work and also be there for George as well.
Yeah.
With the flexibility.
Yeah.
I think.
And did you come up with the name straight away?
Yeah.
Because you've got a nice brand there. So
Yeah. Well, this is the new one, isn't it, Alexandra George? But
Yeah.
AG. I mean, they have a brother from a different mother, obviously, and he's called Josh, and he's like, "Could you not have Jag?" And I went, "No, it doesn't go. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As much as we love you, Josh, you can't have it."
Yeah.
So I took AG Embroidery, and I thought, and I got a poster. I was on like a main road at the time, so a big poster with our phone number on. So that's where I came up with that. And you've just been plucking it away. And I say social media, as much as it's bad in a lot of ways, it's brilliant for this sort of thing, to getting it out there and for advertising and picking up business. And then it's word of mouth, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you can make you can just connect to whoever.
Yeah, I know, that's it.
You don't have to reply, by the way, which I've noticed occasionally. But even so, you can connect. They can go, I really love that. They can see what you're about.
I think, and the more what you do, and somebody says, where did you get that from? And then it's just, there's been so many, like, that's mainly, somebody's given me your details, somebody, and that's how it, goes from there, really.
Yeah. So, look.
And the rugby league world as well, to be honest with you. A lot of people connected to the rugby have come to me through that as well. Derek has a business, AB Sundex, and I do embroidery for them, and some of the sponsors as well I've done embroidery for, so that's good as well. It's always a thing to try and keep it, in the community.
Yeah, and you've also noticed on Instagram recently that you've had some success around ambassadors for your teas as well.
Yeah.
Let me give a shout out to some of those names.
Yeah, I've got Fuifu in my he's a rugby league icon. He played at Lee, I think it was 2015. He came and signed from over here, but he's Parramatta, so he's Australian, Tongan legend. And luckily, again, with the rugby league community, I'm through friends and family, I know him quite well. So I asked him, would he? And he said, yeah, of course I would. And I know his partner as well. So he took a couple of pictures, and as soon as I put it on, I got a couple of orders, and that's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the lottery winners, and I have to give a massive thank you to Thomas Ryle. I think it's Rylands, who's the lead singer. I messaged him. I probably had a couple of glasses of red wine, and I thought, I'm just going to message him, see if he will, because I know they have lottery winners on the clause. And I just explained the situation that, I've got a small embroidery business, but I'm just trying this just to, branch out a little bit, but also to give a little bit to charity as well. And he said straight away, yeah, we'll wear them, no problem. So I dropped him off at the studio, and the bass guitarist, Katie Lloyd, she says, he gave me a picture saying she won't take it off, and that was his. But they'll send some more through as well. Also, which is soon, one of the rugby players at Lee, a local lad, he said he's also going to, I've dropped a couple of things off with him. His name's Frankie Alton, and he said he's going to send some pictures back as well. So he's trying to just obviously get people like that, to wear it, and then, some young kids might be going, oh, I like that, I like one.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And you mentioned, I was going to mention the charity. You mentioned the charity as well. So, what's the charity that you're donating to? So, I think what it is that for the percentage of the sales of the clothing goes to this particular charity, doesn't it?
Yeah, Wigan and Lee Carers, and really, I mean, the idea behind the brand is to raise awareness for siblings like growing up and navigating life that have disabilities, because it's very difficult for them sometimes as well. And even though Alex is not a carer because she works full time, she does care for him. But I know in our communities there's lots of people, children or brothers and sisters or relatives that are carers that don't get paid. So at first we were thinking Ronald McDonald House that I've used, and it's been amazing for me. But they've got, obviously, well, every charity has a need, doesn't it? And you could give it our Alder Hair, but we've raised money for them, in the past before by doing 24-hour squash and stuff like that. And I just thought I want something a little bit more local, keep it in the community. So I got in contact with, I know somebody who works there. Like I say, I know somebody, but I know somebody who works there. And then he put me in contact with the finance, and they said, absolutely. So it's only our second month and our second donation, but they've said, whatever you can, we appreciate. So
I think there's something selfless about that, considering why you've developed Alexandra George.
Yeah, well, I thought...
And then donate it, but still finding the headspace to be able to donate some of that money.
Oh, yeah.
Is incredible. It doesn't really matter it doesn't matter how long you've been around for. There's a generosity of spirit there.
Yeah, there is, because I feel as though I'm very fortunate to have a lot of people around me that help me. With George and with life in general, my family, my friends. I've got a massive support base, and I don't think that everybody has. So personally, I thought that that's what I would rather give to. And if I'm going to do a clothing range to raise awareness, which is exactly what I thought of, then really, of course I want to give a little bit back. That's because that's the idea, not just to raise awareness, it's to give a little bit back to the community. How little or big it is. I mean, obviously, bigger it gets, like I said, brilliant for them, really, and for me as well. So.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't matter, does it? How much it is. We'd love to give tens and tens of thousands to something, but whatever you're doing, there's a generosity there, and I'm sure they're grateful for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like they've sent me, little thank you letters and put it all over their Instagram and Facebook, which I really appreciate. So that's got us more followers as well. So that's good.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. So just in terms of the logo, do you want to describe the logo? Because obviously not everyone's going to be watching it on YouTube. So what's the logo?
This is a hummingbird, and it sort of represents protection, and love. So that's why we've gone for this, really. And they protect people around them, hummingbirds. So that's why we went for this emblem. And it's pretty, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So that's why we decided to go with that. And look, I mean, we were saying that we wanted something that represents things like this. And I'd already just done a website for AG Embroidery. And I got hacked. It was an animal, but that's another story. But I used this girl who's fantastic, and she came up with the idea of this. And so me and Alex picked the logo. And we think it's just simple, really. So
a few designs, get it right.
There were a few to pick one, and we both decided on this.
Yeah. And was it always going to be Alexandra George?
Well, I was just thinking, I kept thinking for quite a few months about just a way to expand AG Embroidery, really. What could I do give it a little bit more of a brand, more of what represents it more. And then I just thought, I thought, what about if I did our own clothing brand, our own logo, and I went into our Alex and I just was like, what do you think, Alexandra George? And she went, oh, no, I like it.
Yeah.
And then a few people just went, what do you think of that for a clothing brand? And they went, sounds posh. Well, I might have to rethink it for now.
Yeah. Don't want to be too posh.
Yeah. So,
no, but it is. It's good. It sounds classy.
Yeah, it does. That's why I think it sounds classy, doesn't it? So really then, it was still under just a back burner in my head. It wasn't like, I was just thinking of, because I thought it's going to have to be done quite properly. I wasn't going to just rush. So I needed to find like quality clothes and other things like that.
So that's an interesting process actually to get into, because it is quite challenging.
Yeah.
I found that myself, to try and get them from all over I don't get them from one place, and that's the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
Find somebody who I trust in the UK, where if I need to drop ship quite quickly. For others, I'll have a whole raft of them.
Yeah.
Which you send out. But that process in itself, to try and find really good quality fabric, is so important, because sometimes you can wear one thing, it gets out of shape, it stains, so it takes a long time. You don't just come up with a t-shirt. It takes so long to find the right quality.
Yeah, we tried a couple of brands before, and obviously I've used workwear brands, which are great, but it's not for fashion, you know. So I thought I can't go down that road. It needs to be like more of a good quality, like fashion brand, like loungewear sort of thing. So we got a couple, and I put the logo on. I mean, me and our Alex can wear them around the house or whatever, but she's like, it's not good enough really. And I go to yoga, hot yoga, a couple of times a week, and they had a T-shirt there, and I bought one. So and I thought, oh God, this is brilliant quality. So I asked where she got it. So then I made an account with who it was with, and I just got a few items, and they were proper good quality, you know. So that's where we got. And I said, right, this is the brand that I'm starting off. I've used a couple from other places as well, but they're called Builder Brand. And even if you Google just to buy the plain T-shirts, the plain hoodies, they're not that much different to what I'm charging. So people know that it's good quality, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we got the clothing from initially. And so that was luck really, because I was thinking I'm not going to do it unless it's quality sort of garments. And then I just went, I like these T-shirts, and I like the colours and everything that she had on. I was like, oh, where did you get these from? And then she said, and I was like, right, yeah, no, so that was it then. So I just got a few samples, and I had Alex George, and his name's Ben Hardcastle, is a semi-professional football, just by chance, modelling our garments for us, you know, to get that was the start of it. So
That's not a bad gig.
yeah,
Oh, Ben.
I know, he was there by chance, but God, did he love it. He loved it. We were all the girls who get taking his shit off and trying.
Oh, okay. Let me just put another colour on for you, girls. All right.
And it was funny. It was comical, but it was good. Yeah. So he's on the website now, which he loves.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, you know, everybody who can help try and contribute to this and push it. I mean, not only is it a good cause anyway, but the fact is, you know, we fully support of anybody who's really trying hard, you know, and it can be difficult. So anybody who gets behind you like that is fantastic as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I know, like, because I've said to him then, I went, you know, obviously it's a pie in the sky, but I said, hey, when I've got my private jet,
Yeah.
I went, but you'll not be on it, I'll send you a postcard. No, I said,
Yeah, absolutely.
I went, I promise you now, you'll be on the private jet with me. But we were just joking, but yeah. So, yeah, I'm thankful for them, because he did it, you know, just off spec, just did it. There were a couple of others, like Alex, one of our Alex's friends, she did a photographer course, so she come and helped. And Derek's son, who's again keeping it in the sort of rugby community thing, he's been on Glow Up, the reality show. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he modelled, and he gave me a lot of you know, he helped a lot on, you know, even though we were doing it in gardens and stuff, of the lighting and where to do it and the colours that people should be wearing. You know, he's really good at stuff like that, so he helped a lot as well.
So you've got a black one on.
Yeah.
Is that a unisex tee?
Yeah, it's a unisex one, yeah.
That's so much better.
Yeah. So they're all unisex. At the moment, we've got I think it's about 10 garments. Oh, and well, the adults are unisex. We've got a couple of kids ones as well.
Yeah.
You know, because we got asked, because obviously we've got, I think there's a lot of children who have siblings who have special needs, you know, and has disabilities. So.
Is there a seam? Because you can get them. Mine, this one here's got a seam down the side of it. But I had one of the original ones that Liberalis did they were seamless.
Oh,
so
really?
almost like a tube.
Yeah.
They're quite interesting.
Yeah, this has got a seam on it. So this is like a heavy, oversized one. So, and there was another who helped as well, you know, who I said who I got in contact with Wigan and Lee Carers. One of his son's got a condition. And them two children did pictures as well. And he's called Alfie. He's got Action for Alfie. So really it's just trying to raise awareness for that as well. So I tagged him in, and he did with the same for me, you know, just to try and get it out there sort of thing. Well, any help that we can get, really. So
Yeah, absolutely. On just looking at the design, you have the flash on the sleeve. So that's an AG as well on the side there.
Yeah, our Alex says that's the coolest bit. Like she says, you need to have it on the sleeve of fashion. That's what, and on the hoodies, it's down here as well. You know.
Oh, on the cuff.
Yeah, and this is mine. We have two different designs. I should have brought the other one actually, but this is mine, and she's got one, which is like a classic. So this is a signature in the classic style.
Okay.
But I'm saying we're selling more at signature, so mine must be better.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of needle.
But she'll go, yeah, but that's to older people. The younger people want the classic.
Competition.
So we had that as well.
What was it like with George and Alexandra? So how quickly did Alexandra begin to realise and help with George? Because she would have been quite young in those days.
Yeah, she knew quite. She's always been quite clever, but she knew straight away. Obviously, she spent because my mum and dad were fantastic at that point. Like for 6 months, we were in and out of hospital that much that she stayed there quite a lot. So she knew, but she always took it like in a stride. You know, she was always very, very brave about it and very loving, extremely protective, even more than I'm protective over him. You know, she's just, and she's right. Honestly, she is his most favourite person in the world. Like when he sees her, it's like, and to the point he won't leave her alone sometimes. You know, like it's like, oh my God, but. Yeah, he loves her more than anybody else in the world. Yeah. I'll always say I'm second best because I don't get cuddles like she does.
Oh, that's ace.
Yeah. Yeah, she's massively protective, like, because he has facial, like, because of his bones, so, you know, in his face, he's got facial disfigurement a little bit because he's had the operations. Mm-hmm. So if anybody ever does anything, I can, like, just sort of ignore the ignorance sort of thing. Whereas Alex, I have like, no, it's no point, you know. But so yeah, she's very protective over him, which is good.
I think this is one of the benefits I think of inclusion and social media now. That social media has a lot of negatives, but I think one of them is really getting away from the name calling and the and those difficulties that would have existed probably even 20 years ago.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
And I think people having access to everybody makes an awful lot of difference in this situation.
And people making, you know, I think, you know, like you said, 20 years ago, they wouldn't have known. They wouldn't have known about his condition or why he looked a little bit different. Or why, and that's not just George's case; it's with lots of other different areas. And I think now they have more knowledge about things, and they would, like, if anybody knows me, they would know now about his condition, sort of thing. And, you know, I think it's good to get that message out, not just about George, but for lots of other disabilities as well.
Well, I think though, you know, with George, he's a happy lad.
Yeah.
Which is testament. Which is testament to yourself. And I think the one thing it always is with these things is that one thing doesn't necessarily define you as a person or a family.
No, I absolutely. We get on with life as normal as we possibly can. You know, he comes near enough everywhere with us. You know, he loves going out for his dinner. That's his big thing. He loves his food.
Does he get to the rugby?
Yeah, he comes to the rugby. He's got a season ticket. And, you know, and he loves it. I've got cute videos of his on my phone of him and Alex dancing. Yeah, he's so yeah. We don't try and let it. You know, there's certain situations where you weigh it up. You know, if he would or wouldn't enjoy it, if it's going to be really noisy or very, very busy. But on most occasions, he can be included in anything, and he loves it too. You know, he does love being. He loves it. His most enjoyable thing is when we're all together. That's the thing. We went on a holiday to Cyprus, and there was 15 of us, and he absolutely loved every minute of it. He was showing off. You know, that was like the time of his life because his sister was there. But the whole family and family friends were there as well. It was for 50th, a couple of people's 50th, so they all went away, and he absolutely loved it.
Yeah, I bet he did. I bet he did. And so, let's find out a little bit about Carleen, shall we? So, you hadn't, or maybe you had always thought about maybe having your own thing.
Clothing brand.
So I was just wondering, because it's not for everybody, you see. And you'd already got a little bit of entrepreneurial spirit there already because you had your shop, right? So I'm just wondering, what was who was Carleen back in the day?
Right, before the rugby
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So what was school like for you? And
Oh, school. I
yeah,
met my best friends at school. I wasn't. I didn't try enough at school. I was more the one having a laugh, sort of thing. But I did okay. I did
yeah.
all right. I did enough to go so I could go to college. And then I did business and finance at college, and I got HND in that. And again, I were more having fun than anything else. And then the the I met Alex and George's dad quite soon after that. So in a couple of years, I worked at a prison in the just admin sort of thing in the business sort of area, and then I met him, and then we run pubs then.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool. Right.
yeah.
Wow.
But
Were they?
yeah,
Was that was that Tide or was it Free House or
free
was it
house. So it was
Free
like
House? Was it? Wow.
I run two pubs with him. Yeah, two pubs.
Yeah. Was
And
that in Lee as well then?
yeah, in Lee,
Wow.
one's been knocked down at Sportsman. It was absolutely, it's like the Phoenix Nights.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was a wheat sheaf and then there was the Sportsman. And then when I worked at the gym, it was like a bar area as well. So we sort of, well, I worked as a both there, but that was owned by somebody else. But yeah, we run pubs.
So how did that happen? Don't just get to run a pub. So
Well, he was already in that trade,
ah,
yeah, but he didn't own. He was just a manager at the time,
yeah.
and then we ended up together, and we run them pubs for and that. So we ended up in them really, little bits of jobs, but then I ended up with Scrum Down Under quite soon after that.
Right. So where did that idea come from though? Because so you had the pubs. Was it that it was just hard going? Was it or what? How did that?
Yeah, it's
How did that come
difficult.
about?
Yeah, well, I had Alex as well, so that's difficult to run a pub when you've got a child. And in the breweries were getting more expensive and certain things like that. We just thought, because the pub in itself was busy, and we love the locals. I met so many friends through running pubs that I'm still friends with now. Again, that is very much rugby orientated, that people go to the pub, go for the dinner before they go to the rugby.
Yeah.
So I've still got lots of friends from them. I don't regret doing it, but I wouldn't ever go back to doing it ever again. So, but I did enjoy it, yeah.
It's funny, when folk who maybe in the corporate world, everything else like that, they will say, "Do you know, I quite fancy running a bar or running a pub." My lad wants to do that. He's a singer on a cruise ship at the minute, but he was saying, yeah, but he's been saying, but well, in order to be able to pay for his degree, he worked behind a bar.
Yeah.
So he's got that skill. He's probably worked the bar longer than he's been in entertainment, really, if you look at it that way. He started working probably when he was 18. In fact, he was 18 when he started working in the bar. And that, he was doing that 7 days a week in order to be able to, bit of tough love,
Yeah.
in order to be able to pay through, I suppose it's a bit like university when you go to theatre and art school.
Yeah.
And then he got his degree, paid for that. And that set him there. But I think throughout all of that, when let's just say the work dries up, for example, I'll give you an example. When he was in the theatre, for example, and then COVID happened, he just so happened to be working in a bar which was allowed to stay open because they could do delivery.
Yeah.
So it meant that he was able to
Well, always
maintain
get a
some
job,
income,
that's the thing,
but he
isn't it?
couldn't.
Yeah.
He could not work in the theatre.
Yeah.
So he ended up working the bar, of course, which is great, right? And then he came out of that, got onto the cruise ships instead, and there we go. But when he comes back, if there's a gap between,
You can always go back.
goes back to the bar,
Yeah.
and that's where it's come from. It's a skill that he has, which he is just trying to apply. And I think what he's thinking is actually I quite fancy having my own pub or something after this. I just think the pubs now, the way you have to try and work them, I think to your point, it gets quite hard.
Yeah.
It's maybe slightly different to, well, a lot different to what it would have been even 10, 20 years ago. I think you've got to concentrate on food and that sort of thing first.
Yeah. I think the pub trade is, it depends where you are, but it's a little bit on its knees, I think. If you just, It depends what. Obviously, if it's in a city centre, maybe it might be different, But then it's the rent you pay, how much they're charging you for the drink, the beer from the breweries. So you have to charge as much to get your money back. I mean, and that was one of the reasons we left, and that was 20 years ago. So I don't know what it would be now. I mean, people do make success of it, and love it. I mean, if you love it, I suppose that's different, isn't it? But
yeah, I think that's what I was going to say. That's kind of where I was going to, really, which is quite funny, which is you're in one trade or doing one thing. And then it's almost later in life, if you took a pub on, it might not be so bad.
Yeah.
But if you've done it like for the beginning of your career, let's say through to the middle part of your career, you're like, I definitely don't want to do that again.
No, I know, yeah. And it's the complications of certain things, isn't it? And when you've got a pub and, people falling out and stuff, it's like sometimes you just can't, you have to be, like I feel I'm a people person, but you have to be really a people person and manage people, a lot in a pub. If it's a local pub, especially, which is what we used to run, so.
Yeah. Do you think that you took any of the steel that you have to have when you're running a business like a pub? Because you're dealing with all sorts of people, right?
Yeah.
You can have some fractious times as well.
Yeah, really badly.
Has that, taking that, do you think, into doing your own self-employed business then, have you taken some of those skills into those things, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. And because I was so young, really, when I did do that, and obviously it was working for myself in a certain way, even though it was a partnership. You don't particularly have a boss, do you? I never really felt, because I did it for quite a while, I never really felt right. As much as I've always with jobs, I've always got really good, on with the people that I've worked with and the bosses. I've always been invited back, when I've left to work there. I think I always really wanted to work for myself, because even before George was born, I opened Scrum Down Under. So I think it was something that I've always wanted to do. And that was a massive passion with me with the rugby, so that's just gone on from there. So
yeah, there's a real theme around focus on the thing that you really want to do it well, but be passionate about it.
Yeah.
If you have a pencil company, you can't stand pencils, then you're not going to make it a success. So stop doing it.
Yeah.
What thing is it? Especially if you're going to have your own business, what is it that really switches you on? And it's not just about, if I love it so much, it's going to be easy. It's going to be hard anyway.
Yeah.
But you might as well enjoy it and do it for a reason.
Oh God, yeah. Because there's some days that I might be embroidering till late at night, but it's worth it. And I am like proud of, not just, I mean, I'm proud of this, obviously, but I am proud of me.
And so you should
embroidery and business as well. It's quality embroidery that I do. So, and I like looking at, obviously, when people are wearing it, and I go, oh, I've done that sort of thing. So hopefully in time we can get more people to wear it. And I'm just trying a few influencers, online, trying to see if they can get it. And then, hopefully it might get busier and busier. So.
Yeah. Well, we'll wear them.
Yeah, I'll bring some in for you.
Yeah.
I'll give them to Tara. You'll have to give me your sizes. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we'll stick them on. The crew will put them on as well. I'll have them on. I'll put it on over the Liberalis one here like that. But I think what's important about Alexandra George is also the story behind it. But that's not just it.
No, it's not. No, it was just, I did it to raise awareness. That was my main thing. Just because of their relationship, but other relationships that I know of. But also, I obviously it's something that I've wanted to branch out of myself, and see how it goes, really.
Yeah, and really make it a success.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Well, because you can wear them anywhere.
Yeah.
They're sports garments as well as regular garments, aren't they?
There's hoodies, sweatshirts. Like some of my friends, one works in a prison, and one works at a college, and they've been wearing it, and they've gone, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
And that's what it takes, isn't it? And then I've got orders through them as well, with the dress down Friday sort of thing.
Of course, yeah. That's definitely a way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I've got a few orders off them as well, so.
And also the other thing that you do, which is embroidery, though, I think what we'd want to try and say and make clear on the podcast as well is that if you've got work gear or sports gear or anything which needs embroidering, you can do it.
Yeah, yeah. That's anything. Sports gear, workwear, nurseries, schools, anything like that. If it's just from a little job to having initials to 20 stitched logo, because I always say that one job that I'm putting initials on something can lead to something else that leads to something else that leads to, and it's happened in past. So I'll do any like little jobs to big jobs sort of thing.
And just to get the whatever you need onto the clothing, and I'm asking you this because I know the pain that we go through in order to be able to get these things done. You probably need it in a particular format. Do you already designed, or would you?
You need either a clear image or a JPEG or a PDF, and then I use a digitising company called Digitising Mart, which I've used from day one. They've never ever let me down really. They'll edit it as much as probably if we come face to face, he might want to strangle me because some customers just want it a certain way. So you've got to get it right.
Yeah.
And I'm not like a greedy person. I only charge £15 for the format to be changed and a run off of it. A small one, like a left chest. And then it's more expensive for a big one. And then I run it off, and if they're happy with it, then we arrange the prices. But it has to be I can't do it. And I could go into digitising, but there's complications in that as well. And I think for what they charge and what I charge as a setup fee, it just isn't worth doing it. And I trust them to do it as well. And because I'm quite busy, and also I have George, to take care of as well. It's easier just to send it off, and then they've always brought back quality designs.
Yeah, and you can trust that it's good.
And I used a couple before, and like you said, it's getting the right company to do it, and it's come back and it's not been great, but they've all never let me down once. And you have companies who says, can you just change one tiny little, and they just do it. And they probably won't write something back to me that's not very nice.
So where can people find you?
We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok. I need to learn more about TikTok. I'm not very good on that one, but we're on Twitter as well. I mean, Twitter is more about news, isn't it, and certain things. But we are on there, and we've got a website that is attached to them as well.
What's the handle for your business? So, although you're on Instagram and Facebook, what do people type in? Alexandra George. And that should come up. Should be able to get it through there, shouldn't you? Yeah. And then the same with your website, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Alexandra George. It's Shopify one though that we've did it on. So.
It's a decent place that. Well, that's how Gymshark started, you know.
I know, that's it exactly. Well, I wasn't going to actually even do a website. I was just going to start pages on Instagram and Facebook, and then just see how it went. And then I thought I have to have a way that people can buy online. And then I spoke to one of my ex-colleagues, one of my mum's ex-colleagues who she knew, and then the other lady who did my logo, who gave us some ideas for the logo, and both of them said to use them. She said, as a start off, use that. And she said the cost are low. And at first I went, even though I'm pretty computer savvy, I was like, my own website, I don't know about that. But I did do it. But with help from Alex and again Ryan helped a lot as well with descriptions and stuff. And it's there, and it does look good actually. So. Yeah.
Oh well, couldn't be more chuffed for you and supportive, and really want this to go well. And so first of all, up Alexandra George. Second, up lead the rugby team. Come on,
absolutely.
Let's go. Good.
We lost on Tuesday against our rivals Wigan, which was upsetting. Got another game. Hopefully
go again.
We bounce back on Sunday.
Yeah, and also if you could really pass on our best to your family as well.
Oh yeah, I will do. Thank you. Yeah, thanks very much.
And because of the look, we'll obviously have all the links. We'll make sure the handles are all right within the social media stuff that we send. We'll send you the clips of everything as well, of course. And but thanks for also selflessly though supporting the charity that you are.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
it takes a lot. And on that basis, I'm going to tell you that you are a local hero.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks very much for coming, Carleen.
When she said that, though, I was going because all my friends have been making fun of me.
Yeah, local hero.
Yeah, but thank you very much.
You're welcome.
It's nice to be here.
Thanks very much for coming.
Yeah, good.
Cheers.